Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Today's parasha is called Korach, and Mauricio Quintero wrote the message today. He entitled it, following the commandment, "You shall not covet, lo tachmod." Our portion for the week focuses on a character named Korach. The Hebrew root of Korach, kuf resh chet, means bald, or naked, or stripped bare. And according to our sages, it suggests a physical description of being bald, or symbolically, someone who leaves something stripped bare, someone who separates or uproots. The idea I want to convey is that Korach is like someone who left Israel bald or bare after the division he caused, not only in how his life ended, but also by taking the lives of 14,700 people, plus 250 leaders and their families. So the parasha begins with, "And Korach took, Vayikach Korach, son of Ishar, son of Kahat, son of Levi." This is from Numbers 16, verse 1. It's strange how the verse begins with a verb that lacks a logical thread, and he took. But what did he take? The verb seems to hang in the air. According to Rashi, the idea is that he set himself apart. Literally, he took himself aside. He separated himself from the community of Israel. This is something very profound and powerful, not written in an erroneous or incomplete way, but rather teaching us that he, Korach, made a decision in his heart. Let's look at the context of what happened just prior to this episode. The scouts had failed in their mission to reconnoiter the Promised Land. They had submitted a terrible report that resulted in a judgment from heaven, that they would die in the desert after wandering for a period of 40 years. Korach was no ordinary man. He saw an opportunity to rise as a leader in the face of Moses' apparent passivity, his own non-acceptance of the divine decree, and his lack of gratitude, because he coveted the position that his cousin Aaron had received. In the Talmud, in Bamidbar Rabbah 18, we read that Korach was already a privileged man. He was a Levite from Kahat. He was wealthy and enjoyed a good name and prestige throughout Israel. However, he longed for the position of priesthood. Pirkei Avot, in chapter 4, verse 1, says, "Envy, or distorted desires, and the pursuit of honor take a man out of the world." And the Midrash Tanchuma Korach 5 says, "He set his eyes on what was not his. He did not obtain what he sought, and he lost what he had." In Numbers 16:3, he says, "You have gone too far. For the whole congregation, all of them are holy. Why then do you exalt yourselves above the congregation of Yud He Vav He?" This reminds me of what Yeshua said in Luke 6, verse 45. "A good man produces good things from the good stored up in his heart, and an evil man produces evil things from the evil stored up in his heart. For his mouth speaks what overflows from his heart." If we analyze Korach's question, it reveals that he had been ruminating on something in his imagination. But in light of reality, it was far from the truth. That's why he said, "You've gone too far, enough." Then he follows it with a half-truth. Of course, God said Israel was a holy nation. But Korach failed to add that each of us has a unique and specific role within the nation of Israel. He wanted, as we do today, to present the idea that we're all equal before the law and desire the same privileges. To whom was he directing this message? If we read it carefully, the message wasn't really directed at Moshe, but at those watching the public debate in order to gain votes, like any good politician. He was presenting them with a half-truth, a truth tailored to his personal needs. Then he rebuked Moses and Aaron. Why do you exalt yourself? And this is the most crucial question in the entire text, because it is here that Korach reveals what he most longed for. Was it true that Moses raised himself above the others? When God called him at the burning bush, Moses raised 5 objections. First, who am I? Second, who are you? Third, they won't believe me. Fourth, I don't know how to speak. Fifth, send someone else. Moses was a leader who struggled with the position of our office. As our Rabbi, our Rabbi, used to say, he was a reluctant leader. In contrast, Korach did desire position and power. He also contradicted God's words, which state that Moses was the most humble man on earth. This verse precedes Korach's rebellion. Korach was judging Moses according to his own heart because he was the one who desired power. He saw Moses as one who exalts himself above others, meaning that he, Korach, sought to rise and elevate himself above the rest and dominate them. Since he spoke from the depths of his heart, he assumed that Moses also desired to be above the rest. An ambitious person assumes that everyone else is ambitious. A proud person thinks that everyone wants fame. And a greedy person assumes that everyone wants money. Excuse me. One of the greatest lessons I've learned this week is that Moses never sought to defend his honor or God's. Instead, he took action. He bowed his face to the ground, as it says in Numbers 16:4. When Moses heard this, he fell on his face. The Torah doesn't say he became angry, or he responded, or even that he remained silent, but rather, in response to the accusation of you exalt yourself, the Torah shows us, no. The first thing he did was not exalt himself, rather, he prostrated himself. What does it mean to fall on one's face? It means remaining humble before God, acknowledging God's authority. It also represents intercession. When the people sinned, Moses offered prayer, implying a relinquishment of the limelight. So Korach accused Moses of lechitnaseh, exalting himself. And the Torah offers a narrative response. Vayipol al panayv, his face fell. They accused him. Moses, you raised yourself up too high. And the Torah silently defends him. The first thing Moses does is descend to the level of the dust. While Korach understood leadership vertically, higher, more authority, more honor, more recognition, and more fame, the Torah indicates that Moses understood it in a completely different way. Higher means more responsibility, more burden, more service, more dependence upon God. Those who covet a position often imagine only its privileges, while those called by God know the weight, the toll, and the responsibility that this position entails. Let's go back a bit to the expression Korach takes. What does he take? What did he separate himself from? Well, he took for himself a group of men, a group of people, famous men, leaders, forming a faction. In other words, he separated himself from the unity of the people. His greed and envy sought to divide. That is why it said he left Israel bare or bald. He also separated himself from the authority imposed by God. Korach gave equal value to everyone when he said, "We're all holy," but he didn't distinguish between their roles. He confused equality with dignity. He confused equality with having specific roles. He even strayed from his own calling, from his own role. As a descendant of Kahat, he belonged to the group that carried the most sacred objects of the tabernacle. He was one of the Levites with the greatest responsibility. He was far from being excluded. He was not any ordinary man, but he ceased to value the service that God had given him because he coveted what belonged to others. He turned away from humility. He turned away from inner truth. It's possible to use the right words to justify personal admission. That's why the sages suggest that not every seemingly just cause arises from pure motives. From this, we learn that lack is not always real. It's often perceived, imagined. Korach was not destitute. He was not marginalized from society. Objectively, he should have been a very contented man. This leads us to learn that a lack of gratitude creates a feeling of emptiness. When a person stops appreciating their portion, their part, they begin to define their worth by what others possess. It says in Pirkei Avot 4:1, "Who is rich? He who is content with his portion." Similarly, envy becomes an unpayable debt, like that of the gambler who loses $100 at the casino. Instead of accepting his loss, he says, "I just need to continue playing until I win back what I lost." But he's no longer playing rationally. Every new bet increases the emptiness. And in the end, he not only loses $100, he loses $500. Returning to Midrash Tanhuma Korah 5, it says, he set his eyes on what was not his. He did not obtain what he sought and lost what he had. The Midrash uses this expression to describe other figures: Cain, Balaam, Haman, and now Korach. In Genesis 4, we saw that God looked with favor upon Abel's heart. But what did Cain do? Didn't God tell him, "If you do right, if you do what is good, will you not also be exalted?" In other words, you don't need to take anything away from your brother. You can be accepted on your own merit. But we know the outcome. He chose a different path. What did he lose? He lost his brother, his land, his home, his stability, because we know he became a wanderer. He lost so much more than what he originally craved. What did Balaam desire? Honor, money, and the reward from Balak. His greed was so great that he caused Israel to fall. He sought a way to disobey what God told him not to do. What did he lose? He lost his life. He died by the sword. And the money he longed for never became his. And then Haman, of whom we read in Esther 5:13, all this is worthless to me as long as I see Mordecai sitting at the king's gate. Haman was second in command in the empire. He was rich. He had many children. He enjoyed the king's favor. He had power and recognition. Yet one single person who did not bow down to him negated all his happiness. What did he lose? He lost his position, his family, his honor, and he lost his life. Of all these previous examples, none of these people began as poor or insignificant. They all had something valuable that God had granted them. The problem was not scarcity. It was the inability to enjoy their own portion. The Bible describes many cases. Eve saw the fruit and coveted it. Cain coveted Abel's favor. Korach coveted the priesthood. Balaam coveted the reward. Haman coveted Mordecai's honor. Ahab coveted Naboth's vineyard. Therefore, the commandment, thou shalt not covet, should not be underestimated. I read this commentary, which I found fascinating. Many rabbis considered that thou shalt not covet, lo tachmod, is the commandment that protects the others, that covers the others, because sin begins long before the action. It begins in the heart. If we analyze the other commandments, they focus on concrete actions. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not worship idols. But the 10th contains the idea of do not covet what God has given to someone else. This will protect you from stealing. It will protect you from committing adultery, from murdering, or from bearing false witness. Today, with social media and junk information on the internet, I believe that covetousness presents itself in the most innocent and subtle ways. Are we happy for the progress of others? Are we happy when someone else is given the position or salary that we want? Are we happy without criticizing when someone gets a new car, a garment, or an education? Do we spend more time focusing on what we lack than on being grateful for what we have? When gratitude diminishes, comparison increases. Are we constantly thinking, when we have or when I have, does my identity depend upon the recognition from others? Does it bother me when others succeed or excel? We can choose to be like the farmer who looks at his neighbor's farm, watching it grow. Because he's so focused on his neighbor, he doesn't notice the pests and weeds affecting his own land. And so he loses his crop. And when it's too late, he realizes he lost everything because he was so focused on the other. My prayer is that we live in obedience, in contentment, in fulfillment, and in joy for what heaven gives us each and every day. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom again. Mauricio, as usual, even with your neck pain, even everything you went through, excellent, excellent message. It's so amazing. You know, as you were speaking, I was thinking of how Rabbi always used to tell us, don't defend yourself and don't defend God. And we don't need to. And Tell us don't compare yourself with anyone else, which we do all the time. Be grateful for everything we have, like it says in Pirkei Avot, who is the rich man, the one who's contented with what he has, not wanting what others have. And just to remember, isn't it awesome enough for us that God brought us close to him, that God knows who we are and he's watching over us and he's covering us and it's absolutely amazing how our own imagination blinds us from seeing the truth. These things that we think we want, that we covet, will totally reframe, reshape all those um, we call them filters that that will help us see the world either in a healthy way or in a very sick way. It's Your message was absolutely excellent. Thank you again for that. Memes?
Um, yeah, it was it was such a direct message to the heart of each individual because um well you said so many things. At one point when Korach goes talking to Aaron and Moses, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
Now when people say that, they're projecting their own garbage onto them because
Hmm.
Moshe was the most humble man,
Right.
and when people um they turn things get twisted and turned around when people say that, it's because who do you think you are? You project your own arrogance onto other people, and really then they're not arrogant. And I see that happening now in the world with the you know, extreme left, and saying like, who do you think you are? Even the things that Trump is doing, like, who do you think you are doing that? Look, there's so much arrogance on their part, but they see everything they accuse other people of, they do themselves.
But
But when
their
you
arrogance also comes from their own feeling of unworthiness or insignificance.
Yeah, but
It,
that's another thing, that
yeah,
too. That Yeah,
yeah,
a lot of it is that too, and in all our lives, when we think that, yeah, it's our own unworthiness too.
yeah,
But
exactly.
it's just and lack of gratitude gives rise to just about everything empty, and that's a struggle with our lives, to be grateful for everything in our life.
Yeah. And I like also that he said about Moses, he didn't, when he was accused, he didn't stop to defend himself. I know there's a different way of also looking, instead of falling on his face, they also say his face fell and then he immediately went to work. And he started he told them, bring your sensors, bring the fire. He told them, he went into action, as you said. He just started to do, he didn't have to defend himself. And that's something that is a natural instinct in us. I know if I'm being attacked by something, I immediately go on the defensive and look at all the things that where I judge myself or where I feel inadequate, and then I make excuses. And that, I think, takes a lifetime to get over. Honestly, I don't know until the day I die if I'll ever conquer that one. It's very deep. These emotions go so deep within us from our childhood and beyond and before. It's part of our DNA.
Yeah, it's interesting that also I didn't mention, because if not, that message will be so long.
Yeah.
But there is something else which is very interesting about this portion,
Hmm.
and the point is that Moses, prior this passage, God already gave the instructions about the task everyone has in Israel.
Right.
Okay. He already ordained, for example, Aaron. Okay.
Right.
And it's interesting that also in the Midrashim says that Korach and these guys were very close in the tents. Okay. So in the point is that it is like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Okay. So and it's interesting that there is something when it starts to mention the genealogy of of Korach, it stops until they mention of Levi. It doesn't say son of Jacob. Okay,
Right.
why? Remember that what he said before dying, Jacob, that my name shall not be counted on Levi because of his anger.
Right.
So it's not a mistake that the Torah doesn't say the name of Jacob there. Okay.
Interesting.
And also there is something else that it mentions the name of Reuben.
Right.
Who is Reuben?
Yeah.
The firstborn of Jacob.
Yes.
In the sons of Reuben, now they want to have the leadership of Israel.
Mhm.
Okay. So in one point, Kehat, um, Korach wanted the priesthood. Okay, it's not enough for me to move all the tools for the Mishkan. Okay,
Right.
the sacred one.
Right.
And from the other hand, the sons of Reuben wanted the leadership of Moses. Okay, so it is like and that's another lesson also. Sometimes God decrees something against us.
Right.
In what we need to do, to say, to receive them with humble, to
Humility.
say, yeah, humility, to say, God, that's okay. You already decree that I will die in the desert and I will
Right.
because of my sin.
Right.
Um, and this is an action that I created in the past.
Right.
So in no one else in the scripture says that Israel cried, okay, but never repent,
Right.
never made teshuvah.
Right.
Never they said, "Oh God, we have sinned against you." No, they only answer to the judgment. Okay.
Right. And then immediately they went up with the army, even though Moses said, don't go, you won't make.
Yes.
Yeah, they still did it on their own.
Yeah, they're still doing on their own.
Yeah.
And now in this case, is like, oh, Moses is so passive, he isn't doing nothing. So it reminds me when there is something that you cannot change, and then there is someone that rise up and said, "Oh, follow me, I will make the things better than the others."
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And this is the case of these guys.
Right.
They what they want really, they want to because of their own hand to 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 fight against God's judgment.
Right.
Okay. So sometimes we need to stop to say, to receive them with those decrees with humility. Okay. And say, oh God. And remember, for example, what David did when he failed
With
with
Bathsheba?
With
Yeah.
Bathsheba, yes. Then comes the prophet,
Judgment. Right.
and
Nathan.
he did make Nathan, and he make a decree from
Right.
heaven, and he
Yeah.
said, okay, you will lose your son.
Mhm.
And what David did,
He accepted it.
he accepted it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the point here.
Wow.
He never changed the decree, okay?
Mhm.
But but he accepted
Mhm.
in not a passive way,
Right.
because it's not like, okay, no way, what can I do?
Right.
No, it's not the kind of things, because he shows repentance, he show teshuvah. We can see that after this episode, the scripture doesn't say, oh, and then David took another woman and was looking for someone else, okay, and kill another man to have his wife. I don't know. It doesn't mention that. It seems that that David recognized his own problem, and he restored what he did.
Right.
Okay. So, and what
That's really
happened after that?
that's really
Yeah,
crucial. That's really
yeah,
important. Yeah.
yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
And what happened at the end? God reward him
Right.
by bringing him another son,
Right.
who is Shlomo,
Right.
right? So uh, sometimes in life we 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 go through difficulties because of our own mistakes,
Right.
and we cannot change those decrees.
Right.
Okay, because but the point is, what can I do with that
Right. Now.
decree?
Right.
Should I change myself?
Yeah.
Okay. And probably after that, then we can get a lesson, okay, and grow.
Right.
So, in this case, that doesn't happen. And the problem is that the covenant started in the heart. Okay,
Right.
they desire what they didn't have, even though they have a lot. Okay,
Right.
in after that, we can read that Moses tried to call them to repentance, because he said, call them, I want to talk, and they said, no, we won't go.
Right. Yeah.
They didn't want to hear Moses.
Right.
When we read everything, he said, we will wait until tomorrow to see what happened.
Right.
Moses could said, right now, call the heaven.
Right.
No, he gave time to make them think
Right.
of what they're doing, because Moses wanted they repent.
Right.
He didn't want to be this to destroy these guys.
Right. Amazing. Yeah.
So
Wow.
he took time to make them think, but they didn't want to hear that they have a stiff neck like
Yeah.
I had. And then you remember that it says, okay, we're gonna look who has chosen God in this place. And look, interestingly, Moses is not fighting for his position, because he never said, oh, let's see who is the chosen one from God to be leadership of Israel. No,
Right.
what he's trying to do, he's trying to defend his brother Aaron. Okay, so everything is about the service of God, to be
Right.
the priesthood.
Right.
So he called and said, we will offer. And who is the one according to the Torah? And God already said in this text, in the past, who is the one that should offer the burnt offerings and everything to God? Well, the priests. In it's not a task for the Levites. Okay, the Levites had another task.
Right.
In what God said, okay, you will not offer that. He said that no one can offer, okay, offerings to God because there are some people who has this duty.
Right.
And now what he's trying to put in the middle, the obedience.
Hmm.
Okay. So the sin that the covet moves to Korach and to all these people was to disobey God's commandments. Okay. And that's why the earth swallows them. Okay. In and probably God, yes, he didn't do something like Itamar and remember that there fire.
Yeah.
Okay, no, God wanted to do something
New.
uh new.
Yeah.
Okay, to demonstrate that he was with Moses and Aaron. At the end, the sons of Kohat, they survive and they
Hmm.
compose precious
Songs.
psalms.
Right.
And also in the future they serve like chanters in the temple.
Hmm.
Okay, and this is um, that to show us that everyone's face their own sins.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
in and so um, and at the end also which is very important, uh God uh, flourish the rod of Aaron,
Right.
right? And this is also something interesting because um we can see that there is something miraculous on for example to have a road that start to flourish. Okay, it's not
Amazing.
something common. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Eh,
Because it
eh,
wasn't planted in the earth and it wasn't in water, and it was
yeah,
overnight.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so that is it's something that really confirms God's, okay,
Yeah.
desires, and and also is because of the obedience of Aaron. He put himself between alive people, life and death, according to the Torah. He was in the midst. He separate and said, okay, the plague is here, so I stand up here. Okay, he assumed his role and also uh, bring some fruit. That means that he was obedient, okay,
Mhm.
to his call. And you know, I was thinking about some ways that today we we are not really happy sometimes what with uh, with the things that God bring to us
Right.
with a gift. He, instead to receive another one, we must prosper with our own gifts. Okay, because uh, uh, you know, there are so many people. And I remember, for example, one example is something very common, but But remember Michael Jordan? He was a very good and a
Basketball.
skillful basketball player.
Hmm.
But then he said, "Oh, I am a deportist, so I want to be right now a baseball player."
Oh, yeah? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and
Okay.
and he moved to the baseball league to try to make some home runs and I don't know things like that. But he was a mess.
Yeah.
Okay, why he was a mess? Because that was not his gift.
No.
Yes, he could have some abilities, you know,
Yeah.
and skills to be a deportist, but he was not really his calling to be a baseball player.
All right.
And because he was famous, they accept
Hmm.
Michael Jordan
Yeah.
in the team.
Yeah.
Okay. But then after I don't know 3 or 4 years, he tried to make a baseball player. He returned back to NBA, and now his abilities already and skills. Obviously, after 3 or 4 years, he
Yeah.
was not the Michael Jordan he used to be.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so this is a very clear example of 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 some people uh, who tries to do what is not their calling.
Right.
And sometimes we need to accept,
Right.
okay, to be happy
Right.
with what God give us.
Right. No matter how small we think it is in the eyes of other people.
Yes,
Yeah.
you know, some people want, for example, to be millionaire because of technology, okay,
Right. Right.
and we want to be Elon Musk,
Yeah.
okay. But we don't have his mind, we don't
No.
have his ability, we don't
Right.
have his ideas.
Yeah.
Okay, and imagine, and you are a person, for example, who cuts trees, and you are good at cutting trees.
Right.
Imagine you say, "Oh, my job is not like Elon Musk. I want to develop this, and I cutting the trees."
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Elon Musk cannot cut the
Trees.
the trees.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
he cannot harvest one corn. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
so in by doing, if you are expert, okay, by cutting trees, then you will make a lot of money because cutting a tree is not a cheap work.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
it's very expensive. It's
Yeah.
very well paid.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a hard work, yes,
Mm.
but it's already good paid.
Right.
So I know people who has make a lot of money just by
Wow.
cutting trees.
Wow.
And so the important is to say, oh, I'm less because I'm cutting trees. No, the importance is I'm doing well with what I'm developing what God gave me, what with the tools He gave me,
Right.
okay, to be.
Right.
So, in probably today, this is something that is affecting economies in the world
Mm-hmm.
because of the COVID. Okay,
Right.
there are so many kids, and I remember I had to fight with that with my kids. They wanted to be YouTubers, they wanted to be TikTokers, they
Right.
wanted to be streamers, influencers, and things like
Right.
that.
Mm.
Okay, because every child wants to be like like these guys. Yes, they showed you supposedly half truths. Oh, I am millionaire
Yeah.
and I make a lot of money. People gave me this and this and this. Um, Yeah, probably they could receive $100, one day. But in the problem of the people is people changing their idols
Mm,
constantly.
exactly.
So today you are very famous,
Mm.
but tomorrow you will not.
There'll be somebody else.
And yeah, how many actors do you remember that are still today famous as they used to be 20,
Mm.
40, 50 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
They are not at the peak. Right
Mm.
now, they probably nobody remembers them. And and this is the problem of today. But I remember to talk with my kids. If you develop yourself with different things that nobody wants to do, nobody wants to make because it's too hard, because
Yeah.
it's too difficult, because it's not easy, because it needs sacrifice, it
Mm-hmm.
needs preparation, etc., then you will be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And a good job, as as some rabbi said, a good, well job done brings you another job.
Right. Exactly.
So that is something that we need to bring to our kids, because
Right.
if not, we are open them to these
Oh, you got stuck. Mm.
loans,
You got,
unpayable loans.
yeah, exactly.
Because I want to have my neighbor has a new car and I wanted to have a new car.
Right.
Okay.
Even.
Oh, that person bought a garment and I want that garment
Right.
also.
Right. Yeah.
What do you think, for example, the famous of how do you say that in Spanish is moda, which is when you go to red carpet, you show a new
A new,
garment, and
yes.
everybody wants that garment
Yeah, it's a
because
fashion.
it's a
Yeah.
fashion, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that
Crazy.
is I remember to say my kids, don't buy because you want a trademark.
Right.
Buy
Right.
because it fits you and
Right.
it goes good to you.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
In things like that.
Yeah.
And then we will live better.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. More peaceful.
So more peaceful.
Yeah.
So this commandment is so important
Yeah.
because that brings you life. And people sometimes uh, do not realize that it's really in the heart of the person,
Mm.
this commandment, because it starts when the action has not start, when the action is not done, for example, to make a robbery. Where does it start to rob, to thief? In the heart.
Exactly what
In the
Yeshua
heart,
said.
yeah.
Yeshua said that. Your elders say that you shall not murder, but I tell you, even if you think about it and you start continuing to think about it, it's the same as if you'd done it already.
Yes.
Yeah.
So prior the action,
Right.
the final action comes,
Yeah.
starting with a
Yeah.
covet in your heart.
Yeah.
So
And you justify
that's
it. You keep
yeah.
justifying it over and over. I
And you start
deserve
to
this.
think,
Yeah.
and it makes you blind
Right.
to not see the reality of the things.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
And it's also amazing when you were saying about the Levites, because I didn't even remember that Jacob, it's not a blessing, but the future, he said about what would happen with the Levites. You know, he gave them a lot of hard work, the Levites. And that's a very good way of dispelling anger. If you're so angry, and you're too busy doing a lot of work, your anger will dissipate. It's that's God's genius. It's amazing. And the other thing I thought about also what you were saying with what Korach did was very similar to what the scouts did. They didn't go because you said Korach was in the tent. He could have at any time spoken to Moses and Aaron about it privately, but instead he used it as a political maneuver to bring it out to all the people. Isn't that what the scouts did? Instead of going and bringing the report back to Moses himself so they could discuss it, he brought it to all the people to and that's just wrong. And sometimes we feel safer by bringing it to everybody than by going and dealing with directly with the person. There's so much to learn in these portions. Mauricio, thank you. That was a wonderful, wonderful message. And may we learn from it, and may we remember to value, because I can see where my discontent comes when I start to compare myself to other people. Let's say I'll listen to a podcast and I'll listen to how they speak and how well they're able to express their ideas, and then I start to put myself down and compare myself with others. And that's when the discontent comes, and that's when we get sick, and then we get a stiff neck, and then we don't feel well. It's all connected. So the message is a very powerful one. Thank you again. And does anyone else have anything to say before we close our service today? Miriam, do you have anything else you want to?
I think you've said it all too, that it's so applicable to our own beings, our own lives, our own struggles.
Yeah.
And even just one thing, even had Korah not had a high position, even a lower position, because it's not even about that yes, he did have a high position, but let's say he had a smaller position to whatever, because we all have different positions in life, but it's God. Um, things are right with God. God didn't make a mistake when he created with us. And even within our own roles that we have, there's lots of room to aspire to do the best we can.
Right.
It's not that you have to, it's not like the caste system it used to be in India, where, you're a sweeper and that's it, you're a sweeper. There's a lot of room for getting better and doing the
Right.
best you can, explore different things. But
Exactly.
that's not the same as doing something that's absolutely not our calling.
Right.
You see that so
Exactly.
much with politicians, and in every field you see that. You just know. I said, that person, why are they doing that? Like even what you said about Michael Jordan. Why does he need to be a great baseball player? He's a great basketball player.
Right.
You know?
His legs are too long to be a baseball player. Anyway, thank you again, Mauricio. God bless you. So you're feeling all better? Baruch Hashem. That's wonderful. I pray that you have a good week. I hope that we all have a good week. The rest of of today, the Shabbat. Here it's pouring rain. I don't know how it is in El Salvador, but here we have.
No, right now, yesterday we have a storm, and today is with a better weather. It's sunny, but I can see some clouds uh, from here.
Yeah,
Probably at night we will have rain.
good.
It's a little bit hot. Yeah,
Yes, I'm sure.
that's
Yeah,
but that's okay.
you're used to
Uh,
it. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Well, here we haven't had summer yet, so I'm not sure what we have. It's an in between, but we're grateful. I'm not complaining. Our flowers are happy. The trees are
yeah.
happy. The tree cutters are happy. And I wish everybody a wonderful, wonderful rest of the Shabbat. Let's pray, keep each other in prayer, and let's remember to be grateful and joyful in everything that God gives us, even in the trials that we have to go through each and every day. So, Shabbat Shalom,
Shabbat
and
Shabbat
shalom.
we'll
shalom.
see you again.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. We'll see you, God willing, next week.
Thank you, Mauricio.
Thank
Gracias.
you.
Ya sabes. Bye.
Bye.